Hey, how are you guys doing? And I hope you're doing amazing. So, if you haven't watched my channel before, I'm Donald Wilson. Normally, I do a variety of different things, but today I will be actually discussing from an inside perspective the collapse of a company that I was involved in the creation of and stuff. And so I have chat up, and so that should enable me to answer any questions that you guys have during the stream. Um, so let's start at the beginning. Years and years ago, in fact, in 2017, here's an unfilled out, like basically a stock certificate that we would give to somebody who had purchased stock. Um, Me and friends got together and we were discussing, because we live in the state of Colorado, the emergence of the giant cannabis industry and stuff like that. So, I was a business student in the entrepreneurial program and business program at Colorado Mesa University. My friend was a student in the chemistry department. We had botany classes together and stuff like that. We knew an extensive amount about the industry, but we didn't want to get involved in all the growing directly of the stuff. But we did know about fertilizer to a point, and like what helps a plant be healthy. So we made a decision that we would go in and we would build a company. Okay. Now, I'm going to let you guys know at this point, a lot of hubris is going to be the theme of what kind of goes wrong in this and some other basic things. You can see how, like, as your senior, hey, I'm about to get my bachelor's in a couple different business fields, you might not technically be truly ready to create an S-Corp. And there are other options. We looked at different options and visited, and we knew we wanted to be able to pull in money. We knew we wanted to be able to issue stock, and we knew we didn't have the money to do it on our own. So we thought, and I'm going to let you know, this is because we didn't have a good grasp of product development and idea to actual shelf, what that takes in any capacity. So what happens is we decide to pop three different fertilizers. We worked through the process and stuff like that. We developed the fertilizers in secret. We grew and tested them. And they were actually really good fertilizers. And so we were pretty confident. So then we go and we start putting together the paperwork to do this, which it costs a little bit. And we used one of those like online things where they send you a kit to build your company and stuff like that. And filed all our paperwork. We did it all correctly, got our company up and stuff to where we could take money. We then, because we were very excited about our idea, went around and told some of our close friends and stuff like that, here's our idea, this is what we want to do. Um, hey, we're trying to raise this much money and stuff. So then we had put in additional money. We got friends and stuff like that to put in additional money. And we had enough money in our minds that this was going to be sufficient for the creation of our products, the running of our website, all the little details that you need for a company to basically survive. And the amount wasn't a lot. I believe we actually pulled together less than $20,000 in reality. And so I will let you know, theme two, we're going to be undercapitalized, right? So, reality, I thought, okay, well, me and my buddy, we're foregoing all of the money that we'd get. We have these eight other, and I think it's eight, I'm not exactly sure, guys, because it's been a little bit since I had to deal with this a few months. And so we have other shareholders we bring together this money. We think, oh, with everybody contributing, everybody foregoing any money, and all of the money going to be plowed back. And plowback means if you earn a profit, it goes right back into the company, right? Um, we all agreed on like a plowback of years to where like even if the money started coming in for the company, it was going to keep going back into the company because the company would want to grow, right? Sounds good to everybody. So in our mind, we have this idea that's going to make us all rich. It's going to make our friends rich. And here's part two. We don't plan on running this forever. We actually wanted our goal, and this is a goal, was to take enough market share to be noticed by a larger fertilizer company so that they would just come in, write a check, and buy us out. And then we disperse that money to our shareholders and we consider it a successful thing, right? So that's at the stage we're at. We think we have three formulas and we decide, hey, we're going to move forward to get them into packaging. So here is where we hit the first major roadblock. Okay, so I reach out to an artist. This girl is awesome. And basically she busts out art for us and I'll show you the packaging art. You can also, well, because we've took down our website, you can't at this point. So here is the Bloom Fertilizers packaging art and stuff like that. Here is the Veg Fertilizers packaging art and stuff like that. So it was a female artist that sent them to us and designed it. And honestly, I thought she did an amazing job and I didn't think anything of it. So at this point, we have the design of our packaging. We had to go in and buy UPCs. And then we find out to be able to put fertilizer in packaging, you have to have some kind of official lab like results. So at this point, we start looking for labs that we can send our fertilizer to be able to say, hey, look, yep, that is what it is, right? So because we're connected to the cannabis industry, there's a whole lot of labs that just want nothing to do with us. So strangely enough, we end up finding a laboratory that was, I think, a Department of Agricultural State Laboratory for Wyoming or something like that. And I don't want to pin it on them if it wasn't them, but it was a agricultural laboratory, actual one that we got it to go to. It went off. It took a little bit turnaround time, and so that put us on hold. So we were just kind of in limbo land. So while we were waiting for the results of our stuff, we went around and we talked to all kinds of grow stores and told them, hey, we're thinking about making a fertilizer product. It's going to be a Colorado fertilizer product. Is there any way you guys would be interested in that? Okay, now here's part two of where it goes wrong. Everybody resoundingly tells us how excited they are, how happy they'd be to put it on their shelf, and how good it would be to be able to have something local and blah, blah, blah. And so we are hearing all this acclamations about it, and we're thinking, man, we've got this. We're gonna get this. We're gonna throw it on the shelf, and we've got all these people that are already willing to take it. Let's push this forward. So we put significant time and effort into this. So our fertilizer finally comes back. We get it, the packaging done, and this is months that takes, by the way, to get it from, hey, we know know how to make fertilizer, to, hey, we have a package that we can actually sell. That's not an instant process. It took a little bit. So what happens next is even funner. We have a package. We go to market it. And we market for a little bit on Facebook for 1 second, and then they shut us down because it was cannabis related and they thought we were trying to sell cannabis in a bag or something and mail it. And then we argued that, went through the process, got able to advertise again, then we got shut down again because the figurine on our thing was sexualized image or something like that. They didn't like the image, which So then we had to move to advertise without mentioning the cannabis industry, and without using our packaging and other things. Okay, so we already are starting to realize maybe the packaging is an issue, but it's not clear yet. And we've already spent a significant amount of money, way more money than you would think we would have spent already. Hey, guess what? Laboratories and packaging, it's not cheap. So we go to all these grocery stores that had told us, hey, yeah, no, we would really love to support a local company. And it turns out that they really aren't able, they're not really comfortable. They'd really like to wait till we're around a couple years, till people have tried it. We even give some of the grocery stores some free actual samples of the stuff. Like we give them free product to just hand out so they can get feedback. They get good feedback, and yet still they'd like to wait a couple years. So now some of the other investors and stuff like that try to start working at getting it in other grocery stores and things like that, in which we do get in a couple grocery stores slowly, most of them back east, but it's an anemic amount, and the amount of sales coming out of them because we're a very small section of their overall products. We just don't amount to much, just to be honest. So we're not receiving tons of money on that. So we start trying to focus on our website and stuff like that. And we decide, hey, we need to get this to make more money. Like, we're alive as a business, but we're not actually doing that well. And so we take thousands of dollars, we go to a radio station, we purchase radio ads, but it's at the early part of the cannabis industry, and basically they don't feel comfortable with us mentioning that on the radio ads, the cannabis industry's part, but they'll allow us to buy ad space to promote our local company to try to get their name out. So this part I really do believe was vanity on our part, thinking, oh yeah, we're going to get our local name out. That's not the goal of any company, is to get your local name out. That means crap. I don't know why we didn't stop and be like, how are we going to convert that to sales of some kind at that point? But because we're both very new at this, and it's me and my buddy that's the chemist that are meeting with the radio station, we don't ask imperative questions. We didn't have enough actual set down meeting time to be like, I don't understand how we're going to convert that to sales. You explain to me how this is worth that much and how this is going to bring me any value back. So in my opinion, we made a multi-thousand-dollar vanity donation to the local radio station, in which not the greatest decision, in especially when you're starting with a undercapitalized company to start with that has already spent tons of money. So we weren't that worried about it at the time because we were already at break even, and we were able to stay in the break even point for a little while. And I'm going to just be honest, this is where it gets complicated. We had years where we pulled ahead, and this company wasn't up very long since it's only 2025, and that was 2017 when we popped the company, right? So that's very short-lived, about average, right? And we realized that we really aren't going to be able to advertise in any meaningful way that we can use to get actual customers for our cannabis fertilizer. So this is when I started learning how to do YouTube and stuff like that, which was an amazing boon for our company. And I'm going to tell you that is actually what then revitalized us for a little while, because as more as more states began to have legal cannabis, they had their own blends, the actual grow shops themselves started creating their own blends, and not returning our orders. So we actually started, like, we gained for a second some shelf space that stabilized us. And so we thought we were going to grow. And so me and my buddy even put in more money into the company. And we're not talking large amounts. We're talking like $1,000 a piece and stuff like that, right? Because we think, oh yeah, we're going to grow. This is going to be awesome. So what happens is we lose some of our positioning, and so we start focusing on to the YouTube. I'll click over to this stuff. I think you guys can see this. I want to make sure you guys can before I move on. We created a YouTube channel, and what happens is I start building it up and building it up. This doesn't seem like it clicked over. I apologize. Hold on one second. Yeah, it did. Never mind. And we get it to where over its lifetime, and I'll show you the lifetime on this, you guys. I got it to have 1.8 million views and other stuff. This is when we were working it hard. You can see where we slowly collapsed out and stuff. Now, here was the deal. I blew this YouTube channel up for it to be able to get it marketing and stuff like that. We generated crap tons of content, tons of guides for people that we thought would be useful for them in order to drive, and we left the link for our thing. We saw some conversion and a small amount of sales from it, right? And I mean a small amount. But then we started to get excited because then I'm thinking, okay, well, we're going to just be able to keep producing content, and what we'll do is we'll push forward this company up to the point that we can monetize the overall YouTube channel for the company, and then we will backfill the company with the money from the YouTube channel, and that'll give us enough money to repackage, refoot, and all that stuff, right? So I spend a significant amount of time and effort pushing the crap out of our YouTube presence and stuff like that. We do see a small amount of sales overall, and that's a great thing, but not a substantial amount of sales. So we're thinking, okay, well, YouTube's going to do it for us. So we eventually qualify in all the normal ways for YouTube, and we click the button to be considered for monetizing. And our channel, instead of being monetized, gets hit with community strikes. Lots of the videos are restricted. We get like hammered down on, like pretty much. In which then I refoot again and stuff like that. And we find out that just long term, because we're cannabis related and because our content was cannabis related content, there's no way to have it monetized in any capacity. And so that kind of cut off that avenue for refitting. And then everybody slowly just like developed professional careers and things like that to where their focus was not on it to the level, and there was no money to push anything forward. So it was just dwindling forward slowly to where it was like wibble wobbling as a company, not actually making any money, slowly losing money, to where it still had assets, still was surviving to a minuscule amount, but had no ability to grow in any capacity. And so the decision was made finally at the end of last year to file the paperwork and shut it down. And so if somebody was asking me like what my opinion of where we went wrong is, we didn't game it hard enough. We didn't walk through it like game boarded. We should have game boarded it more than once. In fact, probably 5-6 times. The amount of money we thought we needed, because we actually had never done that before, honestly, we should have known it wasn't going to be the correct amount of money. And that was our bad. That was a mistake that we made, that's just something we did wrong. And so the undercapitalization, the major one also is we didn't have SMEs, like special like experts on specific things that we needed to have an expert on. Like we needed somebody that really knew sales. I knew business from an administrative standpoint and from a how to build a business, how to incorporate a business. I didn't know how to do sales, in which we were creating a product. So I was able to get this company up, create a product and stuff like that. But at no point did we ask ourselves the super valuable question of who do we have on our team that's going to sell this crap? And partially that was our fault for letting people blow smoke up our butt. It's all our fault, honestly. Everything when you're in business is your fault at the end of the day, especially if it goes wrong. And so, um, I did say that I was going to go over it and actually share this with everybody that watches my channel normally. It's not a life crashing event or anything. It was a really good learning experience in which the amount I learned from it was just freaking amazing. Um, I would rather you guys be able to look at what went wrong with the way we did our business, before you do a business, and like avoid the pitfalls of undercapitalization, not asking the big questions of who's going to sell the product at the end of the day. We didn't realize we had only enough money for a single go at the packaging. That was a big mistake. We didn't look into regulatory restrictions with advertising that we were going to face. And that could have happened with any kind of product at all. Our product, we had a brilliant idea, go into the cannabis industry, fertilizer space, right as it was blowing up. We executed it badly and with less resources than needed to succeed. And that's a significant thing. And so that wraps it up. I think that, I don't want to beat the bush to death and stuff. I do hope you guys have an amazing day. Feel free to like, subscribe. Outside of that, just stay up.